Are we live? All right. What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? I think we're live. Um, good morning. This is an earlier stream than I'm used to, so I don't want to waste time. I actually did a new method where I put my or I put my phone away from my bed, and so that made it so that like when my alarm rang, I just essentially just sprang out of bed and I went to my phone to turn it off because, you know, yeah, like I couldn't sleep with that sound. It's not a terrible alarm sound, but like, you know, and once you're out of bed, you're out of bed. And I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner cuz my alarm has always been in my bed. So I don't know why. But anyway, I actually have to change the mic on this because the my other mic has some delay. And I think it matches like the 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 picture quality a little bit more. Okay, cool. So, let me tell you what is on the agenda for today. Hopefully those sounds weren't too crazy, but on the agenda for today, let's get a marker. Let me tell you what the goal is for this week. I don't know if you can see that actually. I'll just make it bigger. Okay. Cool. Okay, so let me like angle this actually towards my mouth if possible. Sorry for the weird noises. I just want it to perfectly be at my mouth. Okay, cool. So in a few weeks, or next week, we're going to start September, which is going to be the start. Actually, I'm just gonna hold this because I'm facing the other way anyway. So next week we're gonna start September, which is going to be the start of Q4. Now Q4 is super important because it's the last quarter of the year, and everyone is like really locked in. Q3 is like probably one of the slowest parts of the year. Q4 is like the biggest, you know the most locked in part of the year. So um, it's super important that once Q4 starts, we are locked in because September is not the fastest part of the year, but it's definitely when things start picking up a little bit more. People start returning from vacation, people start, locking in more on their business. So it's important that we're ready to capitalize on this momentum. So between now, it's August 26th. Between now and September, we need to essentially establish baselines and ways of working. And so we have kind of been doing that, but I definitely think I can do a better job at that. So I'm going to do that. And that's the goal of the stream, just to continue to send outreach and to essentially establish more baselines. Okay. Let's get working. I'm actually going to read the Bible a little bit first and then we're going to start working. Maybe I'll do a little Bible study. Cool. All right, we're so close to being done with Ecclesiastes, so I'm just going to continue. And as much as I would love to follow along with my phone like I did the last time, I'm not sure that's entirely possible right now. I mean, it's possible, but it's just going to take a lot of effort. So I'll just read it to you. Um, okay. So I'll just read the last paragraph of chapter 4, and then we're going to go into chapter 5. It says, "A poor but wise youth is better than an old and foolish king. He who no longer listens to advice, or is better than an old and foolish king who no longer listens to advice. He emerged from prison to become king, even though during his rule a poor child is born. I saw all who live and walk under the sun following the next youth who would arise to take his place. There was no counting the number of people he ruled, but those who came later aren't happy with him. This too is pointless in chasing after wind." So chapter 5 says, "Listen and speak carefully." So it says, "Watch your steps when you go to God's house. It's more acceptable to listen than to offer the fool's sacrifice. They have no idea that they're acting wrongly. Don't be quick with your mouth or say anything hastily before God." So I'm highlighting that because God is in heaven, but you are on earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Remember, dreams come with many cares, and the voice of fools with many words. When you make a promise to God, fulfill it without delay, because God has no pleasure in fools. One second. Okay. Um, Fulfill what you promise. Better not to make a promise than to make a promise without fulfilling it. Don't let your mouth make a sinner of you, and don't say to the messenger, "It was a mistake." Otherwise, God may become angry at such talk and destroy what you have accomplished. Remember, when dreams multiply, so do pointless thoughts and excessive speech. Therefore, fear God. That's like a quote, and I wonder if that was said at some point earlier in the Bible. It looks kind of like a quote. Um, okay, hoarding wealth, also in chapter 5. If you witness the poor being oppressed or the violation of what is just and right in some territory, don't be surprised because a high official watches over another, and yet others stand over them. But the land's yield should be for everyone if the field is cultivated. The money lover isn't satisfied with money, neither is the lover of wealth satisfied with income. This too is pointless. When good things flow, so do those who consume them. But what do owners benefit from such goods, except to feast their eyes on them? Sweet is the worker's sleep, whether there is a lot or little to eat, but the excess of the wealthy won't let them sleep. I've seen a sickening tragedy under the sun. People hoard their wealth to their own detriment. Then that wealth is lost in a bad business venture, so that when they have children, they are left with nothing. Just as they came from their mother's womb naked, naked they'll return, ending up just like they started. All their hard work produces nothing, nothing they can take with them. This too is a sickening tragedy. They must pass on just as they arrived. What then do they gain from working so hard for wind? What's more, they constantly eat in darkness with much aggravation, grief, and anger. What's more, they constantly eat in darkness with much aggravation, grief, and anger. This is the one good thing I've seen. It's appropriate for people to eat, drink, and find enjoyment in all their hard work. Okay. In all their hard work under the sun during the brief lifetime that God gives them, because that's their lot in life. Also, whenever God gives people wealth and riches and enables them to enjoy it, to accept their place in the world, and to find pleasure in their hard work, all this is God's gift. Indeed, people shouldn't brood too much over the days of their lives because God gives an answer in their heart's joy. And that is it for chapter 5. We are slowly but surely making our way through Ecclesiastes. We essentially have two more chapters and then we're done. So that's pretty good. I'm going to quickly talk through what I highlighted and then I'll get to work. So the first thing I highlighted is, or I underlined rather, is a quote that says, "Don't be quick with your mouth or say anything hastily before God." So I think it really emphasizes the fact that like we shouldn't, and honestly this is another characteristic, like even just thinking about it, this is another characteristic that Jesus had because I'm reading Jesus's biography. And Jesus was very sparse with his words. So I think like I feel like this just kind of goes hand in hand with that where it's like make sure that what you're saying like you actually mean it. So Jesus didn't really say like that. I mean, he said words obviously, but he didn't say that many words, and the words that he did say had a lot of significance, at least the words that he did say in the Bible that he was quoted saying. So yeah, I didn't put the pieces together until I just started talking, so that's pretty cool. The next thing that I underlined is better not to make a promise than to make a promise without fulfilling it. I feel like that's kind of a principle that I try to live by, especially to myself, especially to like other people, but especially to myself, because you don't want to like make promises to yourself that you don't fulfill because then it ruins the relationship and the especially the trust that you have with yourself. If you promise yourself you're going to do something and you don't do it and you do that over and over again, like imagine you have a friend, right? That comes to you every single time and they tell you like, "Hey, like Cody, Tim, whatever your name is, I'm going to do XYZ, like don't even worry about it." And they say, "I promise. Like I promise I'm going to do XYZ, don't even worry about it." And then they go to you, they say they're going to do that. You say, "Okay, cool, thanks. It's nice having a friend like you. Like, I'm glad I can count on you." And then they don't do it. And they're like, "Sorry, I couldn't do it because of ABC." And then you're like, "Okay, fine. It's fine. I'll find a way out of it and through it." And then they come to you again and they say, like, "Hey, man, hey, dude, I'm going to do XYZ again and again." Like after a while they're like, "I'm sorry, I couldn't do it." 'Cause, like at a certain point when they tell you that they're gonna do XYZ, you're not gonna believe it. You're just gonna be like, "Yeah, okay, buddy, all right," but you're not gonna believe it, and you're already going to be. So that's part of the reason why like a lot of people just don't have, myself included. At a certain point, I'm working on rebuilding that trust with myself, but a lot of people just don't have like a certain baseline level of trust for themselves. So that's something to kind of keep in mind, not just for, I think this is specifically to God, but I think to God is even like the most important. I never make promises to God unless I'm going to fulfill them. Um, Even at that, like I rarely make promises to God. So yeah, that's just to God. But then there's promises you make to God, there's promises you make to yourself, and there's promises you make to others. And I feel like all of them ha- can live by this principle, which is not to make promises, than to make a promise that you don't fulfill. And then the next thing that I highlighted seemed to be like a quote. He just says, "Remember, when dreams multiply, so do pointless thoughts and excessive speech. Therefore, fear God." And it seems like something that will be useful, but I can't place I haven't fully processed it yet. So maybe as I, continue studying the Bible and all that, maybe I will continue to, maybe I'll realize specifically why it's important. Um, and then the next thing I highlighted, I think this is the last thing actually. It says it's appropriate for people to eat, drink, and find enjoyment in all their hard work under the sun during the brief lifetime that God gives them, because that's their lot in life. So, yeah, like, I think he's saying that, like, just because he's saying all these things are pointless, it doesn't mean you shouldn't still find enjoyment in what you're doing. And it's essentially expected that you find enjoyment in what you're doing. And it's appropriate. And that's where I'll leave it today. Chapter 6, during our next Bible study. Making our way through Ecclesiastes. I wonder what we're going to read next, actually. Okay. I'm going to get to work. No to-do list today. Just work, honestly. Now it's time for the hard part. A cheat code that I recently came across that I guess I want to make known is this thing where if you're struggling with like not being fast enough in making decisions and stuff, then this is for you. Let me start this way. If you're struggling with not being fast enough to make decisions, then this video is for you because I used to be that person and I can now confidently say that I'm actually growing out of that person. So if you procrastinate to make decisions for whatever reason, obviously, we all have stories that we tell ourselves, but if you procrastinate to make certain decisions, then the one thing that you're going to want to do is essentially create a deadline for a decision. So the same way you have so I have this notebook, right? This notebook is where my to-do list lives. Like everything that I do for the day is going into that notebook, and I have tasks for the day that make the day successful. Now, if there's a decision that you're kind of procrastinating on, so let's say for example, someone responded to an email, for example, and you're kind of procrastinating on how you should respond to that email, that is something where you need to decide, and you need to decide fast. Like you need to decide like in 20 seconds. But if you're the kind of person who takes like a 20-second decision and turns it into a 5-day decision, then this video is going to help you specifically turn that 20-second decision into at least like a, 5-10 hour decision. How you can turn it from 5-10 hours to 20 seconds, it's going to be a lot more practice and repetition. I don't have the answer to that, but this is just to get you from, to at least close that gap a little bit. So, what I've started doing, like the cheat code that I discovered, is essentially setting. So, the same way you like document your tasks in your notebook, you should also essentially have decisions in your notebook too, and have deadlines for your decisions. So, when you write down the things that you're supposed to do each day in your notebook, you cross them off, right? You write it down. It's intended to be completed that day. Cross off everything. And then the next day you start afresh. As things come up throughout the day, like what you're going to do, and let me actually add I'm going to add a second camera and show you exactly what I'm talking about. That was not the plan, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay. Okay. So let's try and turn on the second camera. It's going to be this. Okay. Oh, okay. Let me see if I can actually I'm going to turn that off. Okay. Cool. So let's say this is your. Actually, gonna tilt the camera with it. Say this is your to-do list, right? And then you have like task one. So let's say you want to outreach to Tom. Task two is onboard team member. And then task three is review client video. Okay, so let's say, for example, this is your to do list, right? So for your first task, you want to outreach to Tom. Second task, you want to onboard a new team member. And then your third task, you want to review a client video. Saying that so that you can, in case you can't read my handwriting. But let's say in like outreaching to Tom, for example, like you have a decision to make and something comes up. So one of the decisions to make is like, let's say, medium of outreach, right? So then you're going to document that. And this is now, this decision, it's denoted like in a separate way. So it's like a circle instead of a square like your task. But this decision is now technically a part of your to do list. And so as you're doing the task, if this decision comes up, then you're going to make the decision, cross it off, right? And then go back to the to do list and cross it off as well. Now, the reason why this works so well, at least I'm presuming the reason why it works so well, is because of our brains perception of progress. So if we have like a to-do list and we're crossing off things in the to-do list, and like we're working through our to-do list, we feel like we're making way more progress than we actually are. So yeah, honestly, cheat code for me. Wanted to share it, try it, and let me know how it is. And you also get to log the decisions that you make. So it's also like a form of documentation as well, in a way. Anyway, that is it for this video. Pretty short one in, contrary, like in comparison to what I typically do, in contrast to what I typically do. But I'll see you in the next one. Let me know if you have any questions. Peace out. All right, all right, all right. I do. Okay, so we've been live for 2 hours and 15 minutes. I'm currently waiting on a response for. Currently waiting on a response for this thing. So I have a campaign and like I accidentally imported the leads wrong. And so I need to delete like the CSV file that I have and essentially like add them again. Or maybe I can just low key just maybe I can just might have to manually edit these people if they won't let me attach a new. Yeah, I'm gonna have to manually edit these people. But I can't is the thing. So yeah, I need to hear back from support, and like they're not responding. So let me ask. I'm going to ask any update. Okay, cool. Um, okay, she said it's done. Let's see. Cool. Awesome, 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 awesome. So it should be at 100%. Perfecto. Ernesto. Okay. Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, that would have been an issue for sure. Well, not that big of an issue, but still an issue nonetheless. All right. So, low key, I might just like keep the mic on and just like commentate through what I'm doing, you know? Because that could be fun sometimes. I'm not gonna share my screen though. But low key, I think the GoPro might be better for this actually. In that case, even though it's like my phone. Don't worry, I'm changing it to the GoPro. Oh, I need to change. I need to attach the GoPro. Boom goes the dynamite. Cool. All right. So that's also the issue with this GoPro is that I have to like move the mic around because the mic is kind of in the way a little bit. Okay, cool. So, but then if I put the mic too far down, then it's like, here's what I'll do. I'll increase the gain by a little bit. And then I'll just put the mic a little bit further away. So I think the sound should be good because I just increased the gain a little bit. Okay, cool. So let's talk about what it is that we are doing. I don't think you can see my screen. Like, you can't read it. And let me actually make sure that that is the case. But this might. Okay. Low key. I'm just actually just going to turn this away. Yeah. Cuz I can't risk it, to be honest with you. Like, I'm working with emails, and I don't want people to get harassed because of me. So I would rather just have that not even be a possibility. Oh, actually, you know what? You know what? What I'm gonna do is I actually have my camera on top of this. Take that off. Put that down here for now. This is the camera that I use, by the way. Sony A6600. Great camera. And then what I'm going to do instead, because I actually have... This is a quick release mount. Oh, wait, you can't even see it. But you're on a quick release mount. So now I'm going to put that on top. It's kind of awkward. You're gonna go dark for a second. But just trust the process. I'm not doxing anything or anybody. Okay, give it a second. Check if there's a preview available. Doesn't appear so. Yep. Okay. Should be on now. See the preview. I actually don't like it. I actually do not like it at all. I think what I'd rather do is just change my camera lens. Because I already have a wide camera lens. So I'd rather just, you know, change the lens. Hold on, I'm gonna change this to... You can still hear me, but I'm just working on stream stuff. I don't want to show more than I intended. So I'm gonna turn off my camera. Okay. I'm not feeling this. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I'm
not
not
gonna
gonna
lie.
lie.
I'm
I'm
not
not
feeling
feeling
this,
this,
but
but
I'm
I'm
just
just
going
going
to.
to.
Oh
Oh
wait,
wait,
I
I
have
have
to.
to.
My bad. Um, yeah, I'm not feeling this, but I'm just gonna keep it because I already went through all this work, man. Anyway, let's talk a little bit more. I think the GoPro was honestly a better angle. Just like where I had it, I think was just a little bit better. So I don't know. Maybe I'll just switch it back because I actually do kind of prefer. I don't know. I kind of do prefer like where the angle, like the angle that it was sitting at. Like I don't like the GoPro up there. I don't like the big, like the wide angle lens. But I think if I'm going to commentate on what I'm doing, it should be the GoPro. But the stream is almost over anyway. I'm gonna just say thank you to this person and then quickly. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you what's been going on, and then I'm gonna tell you what I'm kind of working on, even though there's nobody in this chat. But I think it's just cool to like for when I watch it back for myself. So, let's see. So I accidentally added the wrong campaign to the list. So yeah, essentially I have to like fix it. And so I contacted support to do that. And it did. It worked. Um excuse me. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on right now. Um yeah, this is good. So first name, email, company name, gamma URL. Let's see. I think that's custom. No, gamma URL is what? I need to check. Excuse me. Okay, that's not what I meant to do. So if you go to like smart lead list, I think it's custom. Yeah, custom field. This is a custom field, and this is a custom field. So first name, email. Uh, yeah, it says like. Okay. So I'm gonna go save and next. And like honestly, okay. So final review, let's see. Yeah. Then I can click on this. Put link in new tab and then make sure that it works. And then I get a notification. This is actually so cool. Oh, cool. So they have like that's sick. That is actually so sick. Okay. Um, I'm gonna switch this camera out because I don't like the angle. I actually am gonna do that. In the meantime, I'll actually switch it to. I don't know why this. Okay, there we go. In the meantime, I'm gonna switch it to this one. I also need to definitely buy a dummy battery. You know, I thought I was just gonna just keep using my current one, but that doesn't seem to be entirely working out for me, to be quite honest with you. I'm showing too much of the screen. Let's go that way. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be working out incredibly well for me. So, okay. Yeah, you're gonna have no signal for a while I switch around the cables because I switched around the cables before. Okay. I should be coming back in a second. Should be coming back in a second. There we go. Was this a fiction? Are they both dead? Okay. Alright, so something cool if you're into cameras is this filter. This is a polarizer, and essentially you put it over a lens like that, and then once you have it over a lens, it like, see how the light that it takes in is different? So if I increase the intensity, look at that. It's like darker. I can open it up. I can close it up. Pretty cool. Alright. Giving away too much sauce there on the screen, letting you see a little bit too much. And it literally just screws on like that. It's pretty simple. I'm going to unscrew this. Put this on. Back on, rather. Boom. Screw in like that. Boom. That's the camera. And then I'm just going to put it back on top. I'm not using it right now, so I'll just leave it off. And then you screw this back on. Put that on top. And now it's ready to be stored. Okay. Let's go. All right, so We are ready to continue. Okay, just making sure that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 8. Okay, and then final review. All right, let me actually like email 2, 9, email 10, and then I'm gonna do the final review. Make sure that the inboxes I selected. Or no, I think this is the final review. That is set up. Campaign settings, email accounts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's fine. Save and next. Okay. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna reload now, and that lead list should jump to 23, and then I can have I resumed it? I think I've resumed it, haven't I? Yep. Cool. Okay, everything looks good again. Everything looks great again. Yeah. Okay. That was a little bit of an issue. All right, next thing to do is the next goal is to do some more quality assessment work. But my Discord is actually off the chart. I don't know what's going on. Can I mark something as red? Yeah, I'm gonna do that for all of this. Like this is strat's kind of dead, bruh. It's not what I meant to do.